Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City Council meeting of March 27, 2018 at 6:30. We have a quorum. I'll call this meeting to order. Our first order of business is an invocation from Pastor Kopic of Faith Baptist Church. Sir, if you would.
Thank you. Let's pray together. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the opportunity that you give us to come before you this evening. Thank you for calling us together. Father, I ask your blessings, please, on these men and women who have come together to do your work. I pray that you'll help them to have your courage and your wisdom, Lord, that they might have your mercy and your grace this evening as they speak over the issues and work hard to do your work. I pray, dear God, ultimately that they will be a blessing. I know they mean to be a blessing to this great city of Titusville. So please, Lord, guide them in their business. Thank you most of all for Jesus the Savior. We thank you for the cross. We celebrate especially this week the great work of Christ. And I pray, dear Father, that everything that we do would be in honor of you and of your great name. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Please join me in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we need an approval of the minutes.
Sir, we have a card on this agenda item.
We don't. We looked up the rules on this, and we don't take cards on minutes. According to state law, it's not necessary. Thank you. Approving the minutes, please.
I'd move to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meetings on February 27th, 2018, and March 13th, 2018.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously.
Mayor, if you'd like me to clarify just for council, I know there have been occasions when there was a card on minutes or someone spoke. I just want to clarify, the rules of procedure for city council meetings do not include an allowance for public comment on approval of minutes. That is consistent with Florida Statute 286.0114 on public comment, which addresses the public's right to be heard at public meetings, and it specifically states that this requirement to be heard does not apply to council's approval of minutes.
Thank you, sir. So we are down to petitions and requests from the public present. Do we have any cards on this?
We do have a couple of cards.
All right, would you give the rules for speaking before we ask them to come up, as far as the normal rules?
Yes, sir. Individuals wishing to speak on public and non-public hearing agenda items must complete a sign-up card and present it to the clerk prior to the item being introduced. Those wishing to speak on quasi-judicial public hearings must complete a sign-up card and sign the oath. Individuals wishing to speak on non-agenda items may do so under petitions from the public present. This opportunity is offered twice in the meeting, and individuals may speak at either the first or second petitions, but not both. No sign-up card is required. Sign-up and oath cards are located on the table in the back of the council chamber. Citizens shall not comment on any issue more than once during the meeting. All comments except petitions and requests must address the pending issues, and citizens are given 3 minutes to speak on all items.
Thank you. I'm going to read this for everyone. We're going to try and avoid some of the things that have happened recently, but please be advised that the City Council has an interest in conducting an orderly and efficient meeting. Any member of the public that plans to speak on an agenda item, please limit your comments to the agenda item at hand and avoid making irrelevant or repetitive remarks. If you refuse to follow these rules and thereby disrupt the meeting, you will be asked to sit down and cease the disruptive behavior. If you continue to disrupt the meeting, you may be asked to leave the chambers. Okay, now we can do the special meeting. There is anything left over? Nothing left?
No, sir, you're on petitions and requests of the public.
Yes, sir. Petitions and requests. Call cards, please.
We do have 3 cards. Stan Johnston.
Mr. Johnson.
Stan Johnston, City of Titusville. At the last petition request, I explained to you that I'm authorized by the state of Florida to protect health, safety, and welfare. And I want to go over some cases. Sometimes good people do bad things, and that's case number 1. Sometimes good people do very bad things, and sometimes some very good people do bad things. And the 4th case is that sometimes very good people do some very bad things, and they continue doing them. So what I want to talk about is something that's very bad, is that we can talk about, for example, Mila. Mila was a very, very bad incident in which we murdered women, children, and so forth, and then we had covered it up, and we had very good people covering up, generals and so forth, and even Colin Powell.
Sir, please stand to things that have to do with city Titusville, please.
Would you please back up the clock? I mean, you're using
No,
my time.
sir. No. Continue.
This very much has to do with, in other words, we
Continue,
have
sir. You're
very
using
bad
your own
things.
time now.
Okay, the very bad thing that I'm talking about is refusal to clean ditches and floodways. And we have an individual here, Mr. Diesel, who signed a petition to clean the floodways. And I think that's a very logical thing to do, and I certainly would support that. In fact, I support the opposite. I'm against the opposite, and that is what your professional, Mr. Stauffer, says, is that you don't have, it's okay to do that, and also it's supported by Mr. Larice. So I think it's a very bad thing that Mr. Diesel, he's certainly a very good person, but he's supporting, now he's changed his mind and says, well, we don't need to clean these ditches and floodways, which I think is I believe he's changed it from, at one time, before he was elected, he's serving the public, and now he's serving not the public, but something else. And I find that to be a very bad thing. And I just concerned that decisions would flip-flop like that, and it's certainly, something's wrong there. And I don't know why he would do that unless there was some kind of strange or something, opinions expressed by Mr. Stauffer, who I have filed a complaint against, and Mr. Larice, who I'm going to file a complaint against, as our discussion that I had Friday with not city manager, but anyhow, let me say is that I'm here also because I'm not, people don't, let's see, city manager and so forth, I call him.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
I haven't heard a petition.
Microphone?
Stop.
Microphone?
I just haven't heard a petition or a request.
I'll ask for that, sir. Thank you. We'll give you a little bit more time to answer that question if you like. I do have
okay.
This is petitions and requests. You should have a
It's
petition.
absolutely a petition. I'm asking you to
Sir,
listen.
I haven't finished talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You have to speak. You have to give a petition or a request. I haven't heard any of those either. And
You
the
do
Vice
have it.
Mayor is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead and tell
Okay.
us what it is.
My petition is that you listen to what I have to say because I'm here because you won't return my calls and won't respond to emails. So I'm saying, hey, this is what I'm presenting to you because I don't have responses from you. And that's a petition and request.
Thank you, sir. You can sit down.
Mr. Johnson, or Mayor,
Yes, sir. You may speak.
that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
I knew it was there.
Since we did this petition back before I was elected, I have heard from many experts. Who are your experts?
Well, I am actually authorized by the state that I am an expert in that. In other words, when the water's flowing the wrong way through 248 inches
Do you have an
culverts.
expert that says you're an expert?
Well, the state of Florida has authorized me that. And I've been doing this for many years.
Doing what?
Pardon?
Doing what?
Drainage and so forth.
Drainage and so forth. Do you have any specifics?
Drainage in the city of Titusville.
St. John's River Water Management, FEMA, Geosyntec, Ronald Wyckoff, engineer of record on 2009. I'll say you're wrong, and they're all experts. Do you have anybody to say you're right?
Okay. You have not mentioned one expert that has.
I mentioned four.
You've mentioned four experts, and none of them have to do with the floodways that drain flood relief for the city. Not one of them.
And you're wrong there.
Who?
You're wrong again.
Okay, which expert?
For being let's start with St. John's River Water Management.
Yes?
Says that we're just fine. Says the city's fine. Says they don't know what you're talking about.
It's never expressed in any. You cannot find one piece of literature.
I can?
No, you can't.
I can.
Can't do it.
Well, I will
It
tell you,
doesn't
I will
exist.
say
It doesn't
this, and I will end
exist.
it here,
You
because
present
you've
it.
got more time than you need on this. And when you come back up to talk more about this, we will point of order again, because we've heard all we need to hear. We've gotten every email you've sent. I am not hearing from an expert when I'm hearing from you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, a request in here for you to present that information. And it doesn't
sure I'll be in
exist.
more of your emails
Doesn't
now.
exist.
Okay, the next. Oh, are there any more cards, please?
We do. Reverend Dennis.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Before I
evening, sir.
begin, I would like to give
Can I
this
have your name
panel
and address, please, for the record, sir?
West Cocoa, 3017 Carolina Drive, West Cocoa.
Your name, too, sir, for the record?
Reverend Jenny B. Dennis.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Before I begin, I would like to give some evidence on why some people up here need to be fired, and some evidence to support a citizen police review board to bring some accountability back to police and justice. Thank you. First off, I would like to ask Mayor Johnson a question. Mayor Johnson, should a police officer be fired and arrested for committing a felony?
Sir, I'm not required to answer your questions.
Okay. In order to have a fair and just police department, we the citizens must hold them accountable. No one is above the law. On January 23rd, the last city council meeting I attended, there was a vote of 4-1 to have a workshop on the Citizen Police Review Board. And I expect a date to be given tonight or in the near future. The evidence to vote 1 is been handed to you. The National Action Network also is recommending that Chief Lyle be fired for conduct unbecoming officer, violating public trust, dereliction of duty. In order to reverse the corruption, a Citizen Police Review Board is 8 people with subpoena power who investigate parallel with internal affairs. The Center for Public Safety sets up independent review boards after they hold a workshop open to the public. When you allow the police to police themselves, they cover up their crimes and clear themselves. I submitted evidence of Lord Scott's being automatically cleared 19 times, 20 times with the Mara Hare case. This trend must end. So, Mr. Therese, you have a job to do. A community will not cooperate fully with law enforcement if the leader is corrupt. This is the case here from Titusville, Florida. A police chief sets the tone for his department. A corrupt police chief who believes in brutality, racism, racial profiling, not holding the staff accountable is a disgrace to his uniform. Internal Affairs is not running a fair and impartial decision in no cases. It's time to hold them and his chief accountable. How can a community feel safe if the police are using drugs, robbing drug dealers, making illegal searches? So this must come to an end.
Thank you, sir. I will tell you that the last time you were here, I said I wouldn't do anything until the investigation was over.
Yes, sir.
The investigation is over. It was went through several different agencies, including FDLE, Brevard County, and one other city, I believe, I don't remember. And what you saw on that little phone shot there, movie, there was another camera on, and they were told there was another camera on. And if and when you would like to see that, the police chief, I believe, would love to show it to you because it shows from a whole different angle what was going on and slightly before. And it was shown what he did. I'm not going to go into the specifics of it, but I will tell you some of your colleagues went to that meeting, and this is from one of them, Mr. Clay, the NAACP, says, "I will leave it to each individual to draw their own conclusions, but I don't believe one person who left that room had any concerns with the detective being cleared and returning to school, running to work, I'm sorry. Based on the enlightening that we have received, we thought it must be a must to provide the community an opportunity to see the same information and draw their own facts and conclusions." I would invite you to do that if you want to see what the truth is. No, sir, I didn't ask you a question. Okay, next card, please.
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
So, and thank you. And to speak to, I think, some of the points that were made, but specifically, so a couple things that I heard. One is relative to a law enforcement agent committing a felony. It is with full confidence, I believe, that the Titusville Police Department 99.9% of the time is going to do right. For the 0.01%, that is unfortunate. I think a part of any organization, if you have a large organization with people, you would hope everybody does correctly. And for the 0.01%, I believe that our police department has the processes in place to both identify, deal with, and take appropriate action. My rationale for that decision is that if I had never heard of a story, I would be concerned. But I think it's fair to say that, unfortunately, but I'm proud of the fact that our department has taken time to address concerns specifically with officers who would really do something that's horrible. And the true thing is that to Chief's credit and to the leadership and the surrounding police officers, I think that they are, I believe, as eager to remove anybody that would stain the uniform that they wear. I believe that. Second was a call for Chief Lyle to be fired, being corrupt being the insinuation to that. I cannot disagree more to that. I also can't disagree more to Chief and the surrounding leadership, as well as the officers of our department. I think Chief's leadership through this has been exemplary, and here's why. I think it is much easier to not speak to people. I think it's much easier to barricade yourself behind an office and a phone. And for those who you're surrounding, either delegate that responsibility of meeting with community members or talking or trying to send out a message or just make a statement on the TV and let that rest. Over the past 2 to 3 months, and really for the past years, Chief has done an exemplary job, as well as the rest of our department, with the engagement of the community, all of the community. And so I commend him to that. And I think that in a time where it would have been much easier to sit behind a wall with a closed door, it was the exact opposite. Specifically in the council's chambers, I consistently heard Chief reach out and say, please call, please set up, and please reach out to me. And during an investigation, I think it was clear that he was trying to distinguish. My opinion is that there was a distinguishing between the investigation process that I think that had to go through, but there was still a willingness to discuss with the community. And I think that that was critical. From corruption, that's a heavy charge, that's a legal charge, and that'll put somebody in jail. I can't say enough that our police department, specifically our chief and our leadership, is so far from that. I just haven't seen evidence of that after really looking, right? After really looking, being critical, I just don't see that. To the comment of the Citizens Review Board, again, I think the chief's leadership and the department as a whole has come back with the idea of a specific opportunity for the community to meet, to be facilitated by somebody who could be very helpful, which I think is great to the idea that the ideas that we have within our community may be good, but if there are folks who have better ideas or different ideas, and we can bring them in to facilitate such a discussion and meet with the community and have discussions that can lead to improvement, that's great, and that is currently set to take place. And so the opportunity for that engagement under guided leadership outside of our department, but conjunction, I think shows tremendous merit in listening to the community. Relative to internal affairs, I feel confident in the internal affairs process at this point, not only relative to the officers that are involved with it with TPD, but also the accreditation process that they go through. I think helps support that, as well as the interaction or engagement with state agencies and that relationship. Being said, I've been given an opportunity, to be fair, I think that I posed some really hard questions to our police department. The intent was not for rhetoric. That was not the intent, because I think that as a community, those are the questions that wanted to be posed, and I appreciate the community bringing forth those questions. I appreciate our department with the utmost candid responses, and I'm thankful for that. I think that we're all better for it, and the best thing that I'm grateful to see is that the direction of how do we, again, continuously improve on just being better as a community together. I think that we're moving in that direction, which is good. But to say that Chief is, corrupt, I just not only can't agree with that, I think it's totally wrong. That's a heavy thing to put on a police chief, in addition to the officers, the 99.9% that are every day going to do an awesome job for us. So I'm thankful for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and I think I can speak for all of the members here. We totally agree with it. I totally agree, and I think the rest of the council does with everything you've said, so I appreciate it. Any other yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I would use the word communication when this all started. And that's the word I kept using. I remember the first night this came up, I spoke about the number of times I've been to St. James AME, I've been to Harry T. Moore, I've been in the community, and I'm there a lot, and Chief Lau is always there. And Hutchinson's always there. The police are there. And for someone to try to create some lack of communication issue with our police department, it's not there. We're trying to create something that's not there. The communication is there. The people I know in the community tell me that they're fine. The communication is there. Not only has the communication been there long before this, I think it was enhanced in an expertise with the way I saw it come through the police department with a transparency that was second to none. Add to that, I believe Chief is even working on further communication. So I appreciate what you guys have done.
Thank you, sir. Any more cards? Oh, you on there? No.
And I was just going to add this. I've known Chief Lau for many, many years when he was wet behind the ears, and he was a newbie. And he is as honest and conscientious as you can get, and he has always been like that, and hardworking. So I have no problems with his job performance. I think it's great. I think we're lucky.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely agree with you, ma'am. Anybody, any other cards?
We have 2 more cards, and I know this other gentleman would like to speak that has not done a card, but
We're
would you like
going
me to?
strictly by the rules tonight.
Okay. So would you like him to fill out a card? Because there's not
This is
required.
petitions and requests. This is petitions
Oh,
and
he doesn't
requests.
have to fill out one.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
But I have 2 more cards if you'd like me to
And
call
the other
them
gentleman
first.
may speak when the time comes, but he will have to fill out a card. If he wants to do it before he speaks, we'd appreciate it.
We have Ezel Hickman.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Last time I was here, I couldn't hear y'all. Well, I got some help this time, so I can hear. I want to thank y'all for cleaning the ditch out in front of my school there. But I want to get permission if I can go in there and clean it a little better and paint the fence. The fence done rusted out and all, and right now Park and Rec saying they don't have no money, so I'm gonna help them out. So I'm gonna clean it better if I can get the permission from y'all and paint the fence where it will look like practically the rest of it. And I want to thank you, Mr. Diesel, coach, councilman, or whatsoever. You got, and Officer Jackson, especially. The other day when the bond trip, them were the first people I seen at my school. Not saying the other officers didn't come and all, but these was the first one that I saw. And I thank you for it. There's some more stuff I don't talk about, but I mean, you can talk that. And I think the last time, or last year, I was asking about a sidewalk there, and I haven't got anything from that yet. I'd either like to know whether anything gonna be done or not gonna be done. And if you can't tell me tonight, then I can wait.
We can address that. Kevin, can you come up and talk about the sidewalk?
Someone's going to come up to answer your question. The gentleman here.
Oh.
He works for the city, and he's in charge of those things.
Yeah, I believe we brought a price back for sidewalk infill, 85,000, I believe was our number after the back, but we weren't funded at any sidewalk infill this year.
And I think the other issue on that sidewalk was the railroad crossing portion of it.
Yeah, there's no provision for crossing on the same side of the railroad there, so any crossing towards Hopkins is always going to be on the north side, down Sycamore. So what we looked at was filling in gaps along Gibson to the DeLeon end, but not connecting to Hopkins. We can't connect that side. As a matter of fact, the project redoing the signals won't be pushing any school children on that side at all. We're pushing them all north. So, but we do have, as funding available in the future, sidewalk infill can be done to fill the gaps between DeLeon and the school.
So you're going to put it on the schedule?
Yeah, it's in our schedule as far as, along with a number of other gaps, but as soon as we have funding for sidewalk infill, we can do
And he
that.
also asked about painting a fence. Is that?
We don't provide maintenance at Gibson. If that's, I believe you're asking for Gibson, sir?
Beg your pardon?
You're asking for Gibson for the rec center there?
Where is the fence, sir?
From Gibson, yeah, from the Gibson school. It don't go on the no fun the railroad track. It would keep them kids from walking in the grass.
I can talk with Jeff Davis. Parks and Rec is the maintenance agent for that property. I don't believe it's even one of the city properties, but we can, we'll work with
If it is
Jeff.
a city property.
They tell me that's the city, not Park and Rec.
We can review that, but I don't know of any fence that we maintain through there. We'll review that
Take
with
a
the
look at
county.
it. If it's not our fence, we can't give you permission for it because it's not ours. But if it is, possibly we can. He's going to check out where it is, okay?
Oh, okay.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Hickman, first of all, myself off. There we go. Mr. Hickman, first of all, we've known each other 25, 30 years. I coached as kids in football. And what I want to say about you, and I put this down before you say anything good about me, I want you to know that. You're a pretty amazing guy. Because every time you say anything to me, whether it was when we were doing football or over at Gibson or even right now as you stand here, you don't just say, I want. You say, we need this. What can I do to help? And I'm telling you, that just comes out in you, and I don't even know if you know how special you are because we don't get a lot of that. So I just wanted to say thank you, and thanks for being around with me so long.
Thank you. I'm all about kids.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Thank you, sir. They're going to look into that. Next card, please.
Dwight Siegler.
Good evening.
Hello, sir.
Dwight
Name-
Sigler.
you've
East
been.
Memphis. Well, I'm not going to say Chief Lau needs to be fired. And Chief Lau's a nice guy. And it's like when you have a football or basketball teams, and you got a winning coach. You got a coach, you're winning. But when you go into that losing season, they tend to get rid of the coach. And I say that to say Zone 2 is supposed to be the worst zone in the city as far as the police department is concerned. They break it up in zones. And that zone, we have roughly 15 to 17 unsolved murders in this area. So it doesn't affect some people because they don't even know that. And they live right here in the city. Probably some of the councilmen don't even know it. But that's a lot of people to be unsolved. And if that's the worst area and we can't get it any better, sometimes if you change your coach and maybe if this city brought in some diversity as far as hiring a black police chief, which if you're going to cover that area and bring it down, if you don't change your coach, you don't change your winning style. So that's not saying he's a bad guy or anything, but sometimes your tenure and your time is gone. You can't get it back. So we as a city and a community, what do we do about it? You're a coach. If you don't win, after a while they change the coach, right? You don't get rid of the team. And the chief has done a great job for a long time. But he just can't pull out that area we need to get fixed and get that crime rate down, which affects all of us throughout the whole north end of the county. That's all you hear about, Zone 2. So I'm just saying we might need to look at some new ideas or, I hate to say it, I don't want to make it sound like I'm beating up on the chief.
Your time is up, sir.
Okay.
I will take the liberty to talk to this one. I couldn't disagree with you more, Mr. Ziegler. He's a fine officer. He's been with us for 20-something years. He's a fine police chief. His men respect him. We prefer, frankly, hiring from within whenever possible. We have some fine African-American police officers who, if they come up to the point of in rank that they're next, they certainly will be considered with all of the other officers in the same position, whether they're black or white. That doesn't mean anything to the chief, their color, the assistant chief. Anybody on this council will tell you the same thing I just told you. So thank you for coming in, but I think you're completely wrong. Next card, please.
We have no more cards, but I believe the gentleman sitting on the second row would like to speak.
Will you fill a card, sir? You can do it after you speak if you want.
Mayor, I just wanted to clarify, under petitions and requests, we're not
He doesn't
required to
have
take cards.
All right, I'm sorry. You don't have to sign one, that's all right.
James Jackson, City of Titusville. The reason I approached the podium is to expound on the situation with the officer, the police officer. I keep hearing you guys saying that you saw this new view of the altercation. You forgot about the old one, apparently. And I saw it too. And I still have questions. And I know for a fact that what we do, we protect each other. That blue badge is going to protect each other. Tend I agree. Nothing against the chief. Don't see a problem with him. But I know that he will have the tendency to protect his officer or friend. Here's my point. I don't care what this man's disposition was. Are you insinuating that you're going to permit the Titusville police officer to punch a guy in the face, to punch me in the face? This is what I saw. I see you guys asking me to believe I didn't see this first film. I guess it's because it was on Facebook. I don't know. Disillusions me. But I did see it, and I know you guys saw it. One point I see about on a national basis about police interactions and the problems with our community is that instead of addressing the problem, hierarchy covers it up. You guys don't want to see it. You got to face it when you start paying money for it. See, this is a case, you might not be out of the water. You may pay some money for it. But this guy made a mistake. If I make a mistake on my job, guess what? Probably gone. He made a mistake. He might have been a good guy. I don't know him. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't even know the kid. I think what happened is we made this about that kid and his personality as opposed to addressing the real issue. Again, I think we turned our back on it. But thanks for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
You know, everybody that came in the first time, sir, said the same thing you're saying tonight. There was a whole crowd of people that came in and jumped to that conclusion. And I refused to speak to them about having a committee put together until we found out the facts. Now, we found out the facts, and everybody from that group went to see that. None of them are here tonight because it's a different. I didn't ask you a question, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Sir, no, sir. I gave you your time. You give me my time to talk. Sir, sit down, please. You're disrupting our meeting, sir. Everyone who saw that, I'll speak to the rest of the group. Everyone who saw that walked out of there and had no more problem. None of them are here tonight. If they did, except for Reverend Dennis, who didn't see it. So before you say anything about who's guilty and who isn't, go for the truth. And the truth is on that film. It's a different angle, and if you look at it, you'll see what really happened. If you don't want the truth, then don't go see it. And then. All right. I think we're through with petitions and requests. We're on the consent agenda. City Manager, would you?
Yes, sir. Consent agenda items. I will read all of the consent items, and then following the reading for the record, we'll pull the cards as well as any items that the mayor and council would like to be pulled. Consent agenda item 8A, approve and accept the FY18 home disbursement agreement with Brevard County. Consent agenda item 8B, approve the award of contract to CJ Sales and Service of Ocala, Florida to provide maintenance services of water resources generators in the amount of $58,958 with an initial 2-year and 1-year optional renewals, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract. Consent agenda item 8C, authorize the sale of property located at 1010 Queen Street in Inspiration Subdivision at an appraised value of $130,000. Consent agenda item 8D, approve advisability for refinement of code related to site permits, especially in areas where land is being filled. Consent agenda item 8E, approve budget amendment to provide additional project funding with change order 1 in the amount of $19,380.25 to Gregori Construction Company of Titusville, Florida for structure and utility conflicts discovered during the construction. Additionally, authorize the city manager to execute the change order. Consent agenda item 8F, approve advisability for staff to review and evaluate current community development fees. Consent agenda item 8G, approve and execute the attached 2 utility easement agreements for properties affiliated with Flagler Global Logistics, which are necessary for the city's construction of the Southern Service Area Water Loop, Main Loop. Consent agenda item 8H, approve the award of contract to Dominion Metal Recycling Center, Cocoa LLC of Cocoa, Florida, for the sale of scrap metal as an on-needed basis with a 1-year initial term with 4 administrative renewals, and authorize the city manager to execute said contract. Consent agenda item 8I, approve the award of contract to Ditzler Incorporated of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the amount of $105,000 annually for providing day labor services for city operations during a 1-year initial term and 3 1-year optional terms, and authorize the mayor to execute said contract. We have cards on items B and E. And Mayor and Council, do you have any items that you wish to pull on consent?
Does Council have any items? We have none, sir.
Okay. Clerk, will you read the cards, please?
Mr. Johnston, Stan Johnston.
What item will you be speaking?
Item number 8B.
Proceed.
Okay. Stan Johnston, Titusville, Florida. This is a generator maintenance contract award for water resources, and this is coming through water resources. And as you know, I'm having some special problems with water resources. and specifically, is just as Mr. Diesel was talking about, he's got information, and the information is completely in error, completely irrelevant to what, and that's exactly.
Sir, please try to stay on this item.
I'm trying to. In other words,
try a little harder,
is that Water Resources is so off the target on some things is that I can't put much credibility in anything that's happened. And just like, for example,
That's a little too general, sir.
The misinformation, for example, that Mr. Diesel was provided was completely erroneous, and as far as this particular contract, I don't believe that they're doing the work properly, because I've seen it done just as in so many areas as Mr. Stauffer has just messed it up, and he's providing misleading information.
Sir, you're very close to slander at this point. I wish you would stop speaking about individuals in your opinion of them.
You're using my
Speak to the
time.
matter that's at hand, sir.
Okay. I wish you wouldn't use my time. I don't think that's right.
I do.
You did. In other words, pardon?
Proceed, please.
Okay. Well, we should start stopping the clock. So what I'm saying is that there are so many things that are coming from Water Resources that are incorrect, and so absolutely off the clock especially from Mr. Stauffer, that I believe that you should reconsider what the heck's going on in Water Resources, and just like what Mr. Diesel received is completely erroneous, has nothing to do with the floodways that go through to St. Johns River Water Management District. What? Okay.
This is
Stop the clock.
This is endless public commentary.
Stop the clock,
speech.
please.
Stop the clock, please.
It's endless commentary, and it's not relevant to the subject at hand.
Thank you, sir.
And I would go on to suggest that if it would suit the chair, further commentary on that's unrelated or just both unrelated to the subject at hand, or it's just endless public that potential warning be given.
Vice Mayor, I've already made that request.
Thank you, sir.
He's evidently not going to comply, but if it gets too far out, I will tell him to sit down.
Thank you.
Start the clock again, please. Continue, please, sir.
I'm surprised about that, because the thing is that I send emails to Mr. Behringer and ask him to return my calls about these particular problem areas that we're talking about. It seems like, well, maybe you should recuse yourself, because, my goodness, you're right in the middle of this. You're right in the middle of this. In other words, when I'm talking about Mr. Stauffer, when I'm talking about the problems, is that you're right in the middle of this, and I don't think you have a right to. You should not be saying, hey, this guy is off base. He's not talking about the subject. You're not responding to the emails and about this particular issue, is that you've got problems and you're not dealing with them. And here I am as an expert coming to you as a professional engineer.
Your time is up, sir.
Okay. Request more time?
No, sir.
Okay.
You want to have a seat because you're going to come right back up anyway. I guess he doesn't.
We have a card on item E.
Please call the card.
Stan Johnston.
Item E has to do with baffle boxes, and this was coming at one time coming from Water Resources. Maybe it's coming from Public Works now, but this involves a similar issue. Is that what we have is that who was in charge of Water Resources? I expect during this time was also Mr. Stauffer. Mr. Stauffer, who has provided misinformation, for example, to Mr. Diesel. And I would like to ask, like Mr. Diesel asked, he says,
Point of order,
we need
repetitive.
this. Pardon?
Point of order,
You
repetitive.
do have permission to speak first, please.
I'm sorry, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm making a point of order. Sam, we can't go over the same thing over
Okay,
and
please
over
stop my
again.
time. Can we stop my time while
Stop
you're
the
doing that?
clock, please.
Can't continue to repeat. The information provided to Mr. Diesel is erroneous. The question is, do we do the budget amendment to provide additional funding for a construction company to fix a manhole?
Okay.
That's the question, or baffle box,
Okay,
excuse me. That's the only question.
Yes?
So your comments really need to be directed to, do we need the baffle box? Do we need to provide the additional funds for it? And if not, why?
Okay. All right. Well, in this case, I filled out a card that says I disapprove of what went
Sir,
on.
she didn't ask you a question, but I will make a comment.
Please stop the clock.
Stop the clock, please. I will make a comment.
Please
that
stop the clock.
It stopped.
It didn't stop. That was when I said
It stopped.
stop now.
You were talking about experts in their field, and you're
Yes,
an
sir.
expert. Our Member Nelson is a lawyer, so she just gave you a professional opinion. So don't say anything that might prove you to be the very thing you're accusing us of. Start the clock again, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Thank you very much. So what I'm looking at is that this baffle box. Well, I think I can sit down on this because I don't think you're interested in hearing, Sherry. But I would like to say is that as far as Mr. Diesel goes, is that I'm asking the question. Asking on this one is that we need this. In other words, we need some truth on these issues that I've sent to you, and I'm asking you to seek. I'm asking all council members to seek the truth on these issues that I've brought forward to you, that you have absolutely not one registered engineer to dispute what I've sent you. Not one. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just thought I'd point out the...
Information, sir.
I'm sorry.
If he's getting very technical, I'm going to make sure we do it.
I spoke earlier of St. John's Water Management District. This is actually a letter to you.
Yes, thank you.
January 28, 2014.
Yes, sir.
In summary, based on information gathered and submitted by Brevard County, the City of Titusville, and their consultants, as well as the district survey, district staff does not believe that this project will result in adverse impacts to your property and that it meets the criteria to issue a permit. Then it asks you if you have further questions to see them. I consider this entire organization expert.
They're not talking about what I told you about the floodways.
This is an expert area. I have more information. I have information, and I'm passing that on to you.
Well,
and it was actually sent to you.
I've seen it, and it's completely irrelevant to the floodways between Fox Lake Road and State Road 50. Has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. That's going to the Indian River. Sorry, sir.
So are you saying that they didn't approve the waterways that you're speaking of?
No, what I'm talking, I asked you and you signed a petition to clean the ditches and floodways that goes to the St. Johns River.
And I had no problem at that time. And
Okay.
I certainly was fine with that. And I realized you were playing an area that I was familiar with, and it's a low-lying area that I wasn't aware of then. It's in a flood area that I didn't realize then. And that being said, I have many stats and facts, many of them sent to you that I have copies of, that says the city has done what they're supposed to do. And quite honestly, Mr. Johnston, you keep saying the same things over and over. You said the same things when I used to sit out there before I was even here. Why are you saying the same things over and over to us? Why don't you go to other people like St. John's or somebody like that?
Well, in this case, is that the letter that you have still has absolutely nothing to do with going to the St. Johns River. This has got to do.
Would you agree you say the same thing over and over?
And I'll agree that you don't seem to respond to me. Now, you're trying to respond now, finally.
And I'm asking you, are you saying the same thing over and over?
I do. I say a lot of things over and over again. It just seems like it would be nice for you to get an engineer to sign that I'm wrong. Like you get Mr. Stauffer, you have him right here. Have him sign it.
Sir.
He won't.
Sir, you've been saying over and over just what Member Diesel has said, that you say we don't answer you. We say we have answered you. Frankly, we're tired of answering you. These are books that go back 7 or 8 years, and they're all with Stan Johnston's name on it. These are all emails that you sat up at night and sent to everyone. For a long time, we did answer you. We had professionals come in and look at what you were talking about. They all disagree with you. St. John's and all the rest of you hold out on this. So when you say we don't answer you, we don't answer you because you cost the city thousands of dollars in professionals coming in, thousands of dollars in our staff members. And we're tired of it. We really are tired of it. And I wish you discontinue being disruptive to these meetings.
May I respond to that?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, it's incorrect, what you said.
You just
It wasn't 7 or 8 years.
Sit down, sir. Okay.
So we have completed consent agenda items A through I, sir, and what we'll need now is a vote.
Do I have a motion to approve this consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Next item is ordinance's second reading. Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, sir. This is item 9A, ordinance number 18, 2018. An ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending the land development regulations by amending Chapter 29, Special Districts and Overlays, Article 2, Titusville Shoreline Area Overlay District, TSA, specifically amending Section 2925, Minimum Building Setback from the mean annual flood line of the Indian River Lagoon by amending and renaming Chapter 30, Development Standards, Article 2, Environmental, Division 4, Riparian Buffer to be named Shoreline Protection, and specifically amending Section 3061, Intent, Section 3062, Applicability, Section 3063, Buffer Setbacks, adding Section 3064, establishing standards and minimum criteria, relating to alterations in the shoreline protection setbacks and surface water protection permits. Adding Section 3065, establishing setbacks for on-site sewage treatment and disposal system. Adding Section 3066, establishing non-conforming impervious area standards to allow existing structures and impervious areas in the shoreline protection setback. Adding Section 3067, establishing Class 2 and Class 3 waters and surface water protection plan to regulate lot depth of principal structures within the shoreline protection setback, to require mangrove alteration in compliance with federal and state regulations, requiring a surface water protection plan, prohibiting dredging and filling connected to certain waters, prohibiting discharges that degrade existing water quality, adding Section 3068, establishing exemption standards, adding Section 3069 by clarifying the city's position, referencing density previously in Section 59-948, density submerged lands, amending Division 5, bulkhead dredge and fill permits, specifically amending Section 3071, minimum building setback from the mean annual flood line of the Indian River, providing for severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances, incorporation into the code, and an effective date.
At the 10 October 2017 City Council meeting, the Council held a public hearing and second reading of the ordinance. Ultimately, Council took no action and requested a workshop on the item. The Shoreline Protection Ordinance Workshop was held on 5 December 2017 and was attended by several members of the public. During the public comment period, several residents mentioned their concern about requirements relating to the repair and replacement of bulkheads or seawalls previously. The City Council directed staff to omit these provisions based on the feedback at the workshop. Property owners along the Indian River Lagoon have been notified in writing of the dates of the Planning and Zoning meeting, which was held on 21 March 2018, and the public hearing now on the 27th of March 2018. The proposed ordinance includes a change to Section 30-64B1B, page 8 of 18, that permits a maximum of 5-foot length of shoreline to remain unplanted to maintain access to the water body. In addition, amendments to Section 3069, page 17 of 18, states that the submerged lands may not be used to calculate density, language which clarifies the city's long-withstanding policy that was previously contained in Section 59-948 of the Code. A new subsection H has also been added to Section 3064, alterations in the shoreline protection setbacks and surface water protection to permit to include language allowing the city manager to temporarily suspend provisions of the section in the event of a local emergency or natural disaster. Ms. Bisaka is present to answer any questions that you may have. And again, this is your second reading and final public hearing for ordinance number 18, 2018, which will require a roll call.
Yes, sir. Ms. Bisaka, do you have anything you'd like to?
The only comment that I have is that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval 5-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, are there any questions of staff?
We do have one card on the item, sir.
Yes, number diesel. No? Okay. Okay. Clerk, please call the cards.
We actually have two cards now. Stan Johnston and then Woody Rice.
No, sir.
I had some specific comments on this particular ordinance. Is that one of the things I saw in there, I didn't see it in this last agenda packet, but it mentioned that it's going to require 25-year, 24-hour storm retention. And I think that's incredibly severe. I don't know anybody's going to develop that when they have to store 8 inches or so of water on a site. It's just it seems absolutely prohibitive, and I'm not sure if it's still in that particular ordinance. So that's one thing. And then I wanted to also comment is that there was a shoreline protection that appears to me is that as far as some projects, it's going to kill the landowner. For example, Holiday Inn, and there's severe damage to the bulkhead there, and to not be allowed to replace it is going to it's going to be severe. Let's say severe financial disadvantage to the property owner. So I think that the shoreline protective ordinance is pretty severe in some areas, and that's what it seems like a number of the ordinances that the city of Titusville has, that they're severe and almost prohibit development. Thank you.
Thank you. I did ask for the cards. I should have asked at the same time, at the same time I opened the public hearing, so I did. Next card, please.
Woody Rice.
Woody Rice, 505 Indian River Avenue, Titusville, Florida.
Good evening, sir.
I was at the public hearing, the workshop that you all had, and I appreciate you all holding that workshop. And I think there was probably 30 or 35 speakers that got up, and your staff did a fairly good job trying to incorporate a lot of those comments from that meeting. So that was very encouraging to see that there was some input that was put into the shoreline. The one thing I just want to clarify with staff is with existing seawalls, I understand there's provisions in there to continue to allow them. There's provisions in there you mentioned about emergency declarations, but I think those are all very positive things. The way I read the ordinance, though, is that if you do work on your seawall without a natural disaster, then the stormwater portion of this ordinance would kick in, which requires either a 10-foot strip of vegetation along that or stormwater designed by an engineer to meet any impervious surface inside the shoreline setback area, okay? That's not a big deal in a lot of the bigger lots and homes like that, and I just want to make sure that I'm reading it right, that if you have no impervious surface, there would be no stormwater or vegetation that would be required. You could put things right back the way they were. Is that, if I could ask, you'd ask staff, please.
Sorry, Woody. Ms. Pasaka, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I believe that Mr. Rice has it exactly right. The proposed ordinance requires that if there are alterations within the shoreline setback, a stormwater management system is required to maintain the runoff from all impervious surfaces within the shoreline setback. If you have no impervious surfaces, there would be no runoff.
Okay, is that something you think should be?
It's in the code. I'm reading almost verbatim.
I just want to make sure I'm interpreting it right, correctly, is the main thing. The only thing I'll leave with you with regard to that exact section is there are a few condos along the river that they have impervious surface really right up against their seawall. Okay, so if they were due, not under emergency, because they would have still the right, some of these lots are single lot, 25-foot, widths, townhomes and things like that. So to add stormwater in something that you already have with your back porch right up against your seawall, it's going to be a challenge, an engineering challenge. So I didn't know if there was any provisions in there that if it's just impractical to get the stormwater in, and I think everyone desired, and we all understand why you'd want to do stormwater, but is there a provision in there at all to give those people a little relief from having to put stormwater in those areas?
Well, Mr. Saka, would you answer that?
Of course. The ordinance currently says that the administrator may consider alternative stormwater management systems, and as you know, a variance is always possible. The requirement to plant the shoreline does not say that it has to be planted on the landward side of the seawall. So they could plant on the seaward side of the seawall, which would then absorb that runoff, and it would not impact the landward side. It simply says the densely planted shoreline of viable native vegetation, a minimum of 10 feet width, would have to be planted. So I think that addresses the question that Mr. Rice brought up.
Okay. That's all my only comment tonight. Thank you very much for your all's listening to the public and our public hearing and offering that to us.
Thank you, sir. Any other cards, clerk?
No, sir.
I'll close the public hearing. Council, what's your pleasure?
Move to approve ordinance number 18-2018 Shoreline Protection Ordinance.
Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. Roll call vote, please.
Member Diesel?
Yes.
Member Nelson?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Behringer?
Yes.
Member Stokel?
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Next item. Oops.
Yes, sir. The next item is 9B, which is a CUP, and at this time I could read the quasi-judicial proceeding rules if you desire. During the public hearing portion of the public meeting, anyone wishing to speak on a quasi-judicial item must first sign a public hearing agenda card and sign the oath contained thereon. These cards are located on the table in the back of the council chamber. Those speaking in favor of a request will be heard first. Those opposed will be heard second. Those who wish to make a public comment on the item will speak third. The applicant may make a brief rebuttal if necessary. Witnesses may be cross-examined by the applicant, counsel, staff representatives, and such other representatives as authorized by the council. If you have photographs, sketches, or documents that you desire for the city council to consider, they must be submitted into evidence and will be retained by the city. Please submit such exhibits to the city clerk. City clerk, have all persons wishing to speak for the city council signed an oath card?
Yes, sir.
If there's anyone present who has not signed an oath card that wishes to speak on a quasi-judicial item, please submit a card at this time. City clerk, have all agenda items been properly advertised?
Yes, sir.
Have any council members visited any of the sites or spoken to any members of the public regarding an item to be reviewed?
No.
No.
Familiar with the site and then drop by every day.
I think we all do.
Thank you, then. Mayor, at this time, Next is item 9B, conditional use permit number 1, 2018, to allow recreation and commercial amusement indoor at 3550 South Washington Avenue, Searstown Mall, within the Regional Commercial RC zoning district.
The Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of this action 5-0. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to establish an event center which is considered a recreational and commercial amusement indoor per the land development regulations. The proposed facility will be located within an existing unit of Searstown Mall. The Searstown Mall is located at 3550 South Washington Avenue within Regional Commercial RC zoning district. The proposed event center will be approximately 10,000 square feet in size, with 8,000 square feet dedicated to assembly uses and 2,000 square feet for storage. No expansion of the existing building is proposed as part of this request. The use will utilize the existing parking and ingress and egress points for vehicle access to the property. Staff recommends you conduct a public hearing of conditional use permit number 1-2018. And Ms. Usaka is here to introduce any other items that I may have missed.
Open public hearing. Ms. Usaka, do you have any?
I just wanted to make a couple of comments if I could. On page 2, under conditional use criteria, in paragraph 1, there is reference to a fuel pump. This is not about fuel. This is just a typo from the staff. I wanted to clarify that. I also wanted to let you know that the staff believes that the proposed use of the unit is similar in intensity and hours of operation to the existing uses, that there is no new construction or addition to the existing facility proposed, and that signage will be permitted under a separate building permit. And based on the staff's review, they recommend approval of conditional use permit 1-2018.
Council, any questions of staff? I see none. Clerk, are there any cards on this?
We have 2 cards. Lisa McCotter.
All my friends. Hi, I'm Lisa McCotter, 3675 Muirfield Drive. I just have one correction to make. The Searstown Mall is now the Titusville Mall. Signage will be going up eventually, and the proposed area is the old, I think it was originally an Eckerd Drugs way back in the day, and most recently, oh gosh, I always forget the name of it, a little bit of everything. Anyway, what we'd like to do is to create an area where people can come and do weddings, receptions, birthday parties. We'll have one area that we call the boardroom. So we have one large area and then some smaller areas, 2 smaller areas. And I think it's needed in Titusville. There will be no food preparation there, just, caterers come in and plate it, and that's it. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I don't know if I mentioned that I'm the general manager of the mall. The owner is from California. Thank you.
I see no questions. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. I'll close the public hearing.
We have one more card, sir.
Oh, that's what, I knew I had something else in my head. I forgot what it was, though.
Stan Johnston.
I wonder why.
Stan Johnson, 860 Poinsettia Avenue. I filled out a card because I wasn't sure whether I was going to speak on this or not, and that's the only way to determine is that I can speak is if I fill out a card. So I filled out a card anyways, and I certainly at this time I want to say is that I think it's a great. I don't have any objections to it, and so that's all I want to say is that. So I just filled out a card just in case. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll close the public hearing. Council, what's your pleasure?
Move to approve the community commercial zoning change to regional commercial zoning for the property located at 20.
No, ma'am.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry about that.
That's quite all right.
Move to approve the conditional use permit number, I need to put my glasses back on, 1-2018 to allow recreation and commercial amusement indoor at 3550 South Washington Avenue.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion from council? I see none. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Like sign. Passes unanimously. We're now on ordinance's first reading. Mr.
Yes, sir. The next item is 10A, which is ordinance number 19, 2018. An ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending ordinance number 5, 1993 of the City of Titusville, Florida, by amending the zoning map made a part of said ordinance by reference, by replacing the present community commercial CC zoning district to regional commercial RC zoning for a 3.69 acre property located at 2300 Columbia Boulevard and providing for an effective date.
This is the first reading, and Ms. Busaka is available to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from council? I see none. Sorry?
We have 2 cards as well, sir.
Please, yes.
Kimberly Rizanka, and then Bobby Jacobs.
Just if you have questions.
Okay. Are there any other cards?
No, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Next item would
There's
be.
no vote on this. It's a first reading. So we'll go on to the next item, which is B, 10B.
Yes, sir. 10B is ordinance number 20, an ordinance of the City of Titusville, Florida, amending ordinance number 5, 1993 of the City of Titusville, Florida, by amending the zoning map made a part of said ordinance by reference, by removing all previous conditions of approval originally applied by ordinance number 102, 2005, and subsequently modified by ordinance number 13, 2010, within the multifamily medium-density residential R2 zoning district for 2 properties totaling 21.32 acres located on the east side of U.S. Highway 1, approximately 1/2 mile south of the intersection of U.S. Highway 1 and River Edge Drive, having a tax ID numbers 221, 3429, and 2222674, and providing for an effective date.
City Manager.
This is the first reading, sir. Ms. Busaka is available to answer any questions council may have, and we have 2 cards.
Okay.
1 card, I'm sorry.
Does council have any questions of staff? No? Please read the cards.
Mr. Honeycutt, but I believe he's here just to answer questions.
Any questions of Mr. Honeycutt? Got off easy again, see?
Yep.
The next card, please.
That's it.
That's it? Okay. Well, there's no vote on this, so we'll go right to the next. It's new business.
Yes, sir. We have no old business. The new business items on 12A is the ad valorem tax abatement for Bricks Project Brewery LLC for tax year 2017. At the 16 March 2018 Executive Board meeting, the Space Coast Economic Development Commission verified compliance with the original award and recommended approval of the ad valorem tax abatement for tax year 2017. Staff recommends that you approve the tax abatement of 100% to Bricks Project Brewery LLC for tax year 2017.
Okay. Council, you have any questions from staff? For staff? I see none. I'll open the public hearing. Clerk, do we have any cards on this?
No, sir. We have no cards for any of the items that are new business.
I'll close the public hearing. Any council discussion? Not seeing any. I'll ask for motion.
Move to approve the tax abatement of 100% to Bricks Project.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, like sign, passes unanimously. Next item.
12B is approve the continuation of Ordinance 5-2011 to professional aircraft accessories. At the 16 March 2018 Executive Board meeting of the Space Coast Economic Development Commission, they verified compliance of the original award and recommended approval of the ad valorem tax abatement for tax year 2017. Staff recommends you approve the continuation of Ordinance 5-2011 Economic Development ad valorem tax exemption for tax year 2017 for professional aircraft accessories at 100% and approve the 2018 annual ground lease incentive payment of $12,500 per memorandum of understanding dated 26 April 2011.
Council, any questions from staff? I see none. Clerk, do we have any cards on this item?
No, sir.
I'll close the public hearing. Council, any discussion? See none. I'll ask for a motion.
Move to approve the continuation of ordinance number 5-2011 economic development ad valorem exemption for the tax year at 100%, and to approve the remission of the 2018 annual ground lease incentive payment.
Do I have a second to the motion? Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes. Yes. Passes unanimously. Next item, please.
Paragon Plastics ad valorem tax abatement request for tax year 2017. At the 16 March 2018 Executive Board meeting of the Space Coast Economic Development Commission, they verified compliance of the original award and recommended approval of the ad valorem tax abatement for tax year 2017. Staff recommends the tax abatement at 60% of ad valorem for tax year 2017 to Paragon Plastics Incorporated.
Council, have any questions from staff? Clerk, do we have any cards on this item?
No, sir.
We'll close the public hearing. Council discussion on this? I see none. I'll ask for a motion.
Move to approve the tax abatement of 60% for the tax year 2017 for Paragon Plastics.
I'll ask for a second. Second. The motion is second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously.
Barnlight Electric Company, LLC, ad valorem tax abatement request for tax year 2017. At the 16 March 2018 Executive Board meeting, the Space Coast Economic Development Commission verified compliance with the original award and recommends approval of the ad valorem tax abatement for tax year 2017. Staff recommends you approve the tax abatement of 85% to Barnlight Electric Company, LLC for tax year 2017.
Council, have any questions of staff? No? I'll open the public hearing. Clerk, do we have any cards?
No, sir.
I'll close the public hearing. Any further council discussion? I'll ask for a motion on this item.
Move to approve the tax abatement of 85% to Barnlight Company for 2017.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. Next item.
Ad valorem tax exemption for tax year 2017 for Eckler Industries Incorporated at 90%. At the 16 March 2018 Executive Board meeting, the Space Coast Economic Development Commission verified compliance with the original award and recommended approval of the ad valorem tax abatement for tax year 2017. Staff recommends that you approve the continuation of Ordinance 18-2013 Economic Development ad valorem tax exemption for tax year 2017 to Eckler Industries at 90%.
Council, have any questions for staff?
I do, sir, and I'm in support of this and the others, and this may be for council's considerations if staff can help out. During the process of the tax abatements, I am cautious because I think there's two areas of scrutiny that should be scrutinized. One is, there's a lot of scrutiny under CRAs, and I think that that's a good thing. The additional is under tax abatements. Both are great tools that can be used to drive really a substantial change within the community. And the SEDC has been a partner with us for a very long time during this process, appropriately so, in my opinion. But I do have some just questions, and this may be for a different time, regarding if the SEDC, their role in compliance for the idea of scrutinizing the tax abatement process, meeting thresholds, or so forth and so on, from a capacity as an organization to do that. I know that there are willing members, good members of our community, but if staff would have any advisability for if we are partnering with an organization, what is the role that we are seeking from them in the role of compliance and the ability to measure that? With the idea of, as an organization, if they're providing that, that's great, but to what extent is it still satisfactory? Are there opportunities for improvement, or so forth and so on? And the only reason I say that or bring that is because I don't want to lose tax abatements, and I would hope that they are not challenged. So.
Yes, sir. What we use the SEDC for is to verify compliance. So we did the research to make sure that they are in compliance, and based on our research, staff research to the SEDC, it gave us another set of eyes, kind of like another board before it comes before council.
Well, I'm satisfied with that. So thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Open a public hearing. Call the cards, or do we have any cards?
No cards.
How about that? We'll close the public hearing. Any council discussion? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
I move to approve the continuation of ordinance number 18-2013, economic development ad valorem exemption for 2017 for Eckler for 90%. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. I guess I think I did close the public hearing. If I didn't, I'm doing it now. Any further discussion on the motion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. Next item, sir. F.
Yes, sir. Mayor and council had directed staff at their 13 December 2016 regular meeting on the design of the Spaceview Bridge west to east signage on the bridge, welcome to Titusville, gateway to nature and space, and the east to west bridge, Titusville trails. The above guidelines were submitted to Don Bell's Signs to provide a full-color rendering within FDOT specifications, engineering attachments, and call-out sealed engineering drawings and infill surveys verified. We've passed out a document so that you can see it rather than look at it on your computer of the recommended signage. And what staff's asking for is advisability to allow staff to initiate a bid package for the signage design on Garden Street multi-use space view bridge.
Are there any, I'll open public hearing. Are there any speakers on this, Clerk?
No, sir.
All right, I'll close the public hearing. Council discussion. Anybody have any feelings on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
That's a feeling. That's a good feeling.
That's for a feeling. I like it. I think that's.
Was that a
yeah.
motion?
Was that a motion?
I don't think he asked for one, but I like it too.
I'll ask for a motion on it.
Okay, move to approve the advisability allow staff to initiate a bid package for signage design on the Garden Street multi-use space view bridge.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, like sign. Passes unanimously. Petitions and requests from the public present. Any cards on this, Clerk?
No, sir.
Oops. No cards. Next is Mayor and Council's report. You have my report written. Any council members that have a report?
I would like to add something if I could. I appreciate everybody's input 2 weeks ago. I do have an appointment to talk to Reverend Ball. I also talked to Joe Robinson, who is very interested in seeing a Boys and Girls Club at the Carter House, which obviously is a huge project, but it's a beautiful building. And I think it would be something that would benefit the kids in the community. It's really interesting when I talked to Reverend Ball and set up the appointment to meet him tomorrow. His comment to me was, if we had had a Boys and Girls Club, maybe we wouldn't have had the murder this weekend, because the kids would have somebody to talk to. So I thank you guys. Keep your fingers crossed.
I think Reverend Ball is a fine man, and I hope he'll see your idea as positive. It seems he already made a comment to that. So.
I think he did.
Good. Anything else?
No, sir.
Anybody else? Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Kind of along the same lines, first of all, I commend you, and I like the way that's moving. Along those same lines, I met with the YMCA. I don't remember the exact date. I think it was Tuesday of last week, and they had a couple of requests. One of them was that council provide a sponsorship for one of the Friday night summer events that they do, and that's basically a sponsorship of that event. I'm very impressed. I met with Sergio Salazar. I believe he's one of the directors there. And I like his focus on, similarly, getting kids off the street, giving them a place to come, giving them a place to talk to people. So I certainly said we would, I talked to city manager about that, and we're still talking about that. We would probably have to come before the...
Yes, sir. As part of your budget build for 19 budget, we'll bring special events requests forward for your ordinance for your evaluation and consideration.
And that's the direction I will advise him. The other thing is that we're going to be in communication. It's not an official role, clearly, as my Parks and Recreation is, but that's certainly another outlet and another way we as a city can communicate with a group that's directed towards youth. So I'm very impressed with Sergio and what they're trying to get done with the youth. So I just come in. Oh, and the North Brevard Wrestling Association, we were trying to find a home for. It doesn't look like it's going to work at Gibson, but they do have another site, and I'm not going to go into that site yet until it comes to fruition. But that's a group of about 50 wrestlers, ages about 4 to 13. And that's a whole nother group that's staying busy with good supervision. So that's me. Thank you.
And sir, I'd like to add, as partnership with the Y, we're advertising their events, specifically the youth-oriented events, on our website as well as our social media sites. Because I think it's important as council's initiative to outreach to youth that we partner with the Y in that regard.
Thank you, sir. I do have a question for you. When is that meeting? What's the date on that meeting that you just mentioned that for this, if somebody wants a sponsorship?
Sir, that'll be part of your budget, and believe the applications are due in early May. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir,
yes.
Well, thank you, sir. And two items for council's consideration. One is that I had a meeting with Habitat for Humanity And the catalyst for that is as our home values are increasing as a community, which is a great thing because they were in the pits there for a while. What's also increasing is rent. So access to affordable rent is really a challenge. And really, there are some places that folks are just getting outpriced out of Titusville because of access and inventory at a price point that's affordable for some folks. Habitat reached out in conjunction with another organization with the discussion of potential subsidized income housing as addition to the implementation of Habitat's program in North Brevard. They were seeking a potential either presentation or an opportunity to meet with council. I didn't want to pass through and say go meet with them. So if that is of interest, I would be happy. Or city manager, I don't know the correct procedure. If either they're to reach out individually or if they can reach out to the or Ms. Blaylock, if you all would have interest to that. But
Sir, are you requesting a presentation by Habitat to council, or are you wanting just an individual meeting with council?
I think my hope would be possibly an individual meeting, and that way if council felt that it was relevant, then we could bring it to council, possibly. But I would defer to whatever council would prefer.
I have a meeting with them tomorrow, and I believe Virginia has set up meetings. You and I've had meetings, and I think she's setting up meetings with the rest. One-on-one meetings.
Okay. And potentially based on that, maybe if there's interest.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then the second, so thank you for that. I think that's critical to our community right now. The second is that I was seeing if council would have any interest in having, see if we could get the Department of Juvenile Justice to give a presentation about their current opinion on how they're doing in our community. And at the end of it, I don't think that the actions that are taking place in our community, our law enforcement, they're getting the guys when they're doing something that's not right. I think that there's a strong consideration that the Department of Juvenile Justice, I'm of the humble opinion that that agency is not doing what would serve our community the best for whatever the case may be. But I would welcome an opportunity for them to come and speak and present on how they feel that they're integrated into the community. But I didn't know if council would also be interested in that.
Have you spoken to our police department as to what their experience is?
I feel confident that over the past maybe 2 or 3 years that I've got a pretty good understanding of kind of maybe some of the opportunities that might be there. So I feel confident about, from the law enforcement perspective locally. I've had an opportunity to meet with the department, a representative from the Department of Juvenile Justice, but as a council member, I'm not sure I can communicate appropriately. You know, I can't communicate on behalf of council, so I can give my opinion. But
no, but you could go to talk to them and then come back and tell us what.
Well, I can. If you want my opinion on what I think it is, I think that
I would hope you'd have an open mind to whatever they say.
Oh, very much so. I think that they identified some challenges that they have. I think that they have challenges that they're not going to be able to get past, and how to work through those as a council member.
I think in my opinion,
sure.
I think the right place would be to start with the chief and the TPD and see what their experience is. It might be enlightening one way or another, and then come back and report on what you found out. Is that okay?
I'm happy to take it whatever way would satisfy council.
And I just want to add, I think the problem is they are regulated by the state, so we can express our dismay. And I think at different times, the people within the system have expressed their dismay. And I think you have a secretary in Tallahassee that calls the shots, not the people down here.
Do you have a suggestion on what to do?
I can give you Kathy Lake's phone number. I would imagine the chief probably has it also. But I also have her phone number. She lives here. So you could talk to her.
Yeah, it is run by the state, Juvenile Justice, and there's going to be a change in the governor's seat coming up in 8 months. The Department of Juvenile Justice is going to most definitely change in some capacity. So my recommendation would be let's just wait to see what's going on there. I can tell you their philosophy is different than on the street law enforcement philosophy, and that difference in platforms is what creates, I guess, is the difference of opinions. They are completely against incarceration. We are all about second, third, fourth, fifth chances, but then you reach a point where there is no more chances, and we have to have those guidelines. And right now, currently, they are not for that, which is why we believe you're seeing an increase in juvenile-related crime. Don't cross this line, don't cross this line, don't cross this line. If you keep just saying that, they're going to keep crossing.
Unfortunately, that's about what it is. And from what I've heard, it's not any different. So, and I will say this always aggravated me. You have a kid that's in a household where there's problems, domestic violence, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, whatever. And unless the kid has committed loads of offenses and they become very serious, it's like nobody addresses that. And to me, that was always very frustrating. So.
What's your feelings at this point?
Thank you, sir, and I appreciate that. I guess at the crux of it is that I realize DJJ is a state agency, and we have state representatives that we personally, I know that I've reached out to regarding the issue. I think I've been talking about juvenile crime now for the past couple of years, and not to beat a dead horse, but I guess at some point, for the agencies that currently are doing that, and I would say our law enforcement agency is out there every day doing the deal, and I think that DJJ, at least our local representatives, are doing the best that they feel that they can with whatever parameters that they have. But as a council, I think we have one of two options, and the option is we say we can't do something as a council, or we say nothing and we say that they'll take care of it eventually, or we pick up the burden to assist in a way as a council body. My hope would be that we might choose to pick up that burden as a council body to at least explore it together, because I'll just share with you, after years of trying to do it, I'm tapped. Like I have not been able to move the needle, and I know I need help. So
I would say the best way is ask them to do a presentation to us, and let's find out what they're all about.
I would love to have that. I would love to have that if council would be agreeable.
I would be agreeable, yeah.
Mayor, I think it's great. Thank you.
Mr. City Manager, will you arrange that?
We'll give it our best.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, and council, thank you for that. It's inspiring, to be honest.
You're quite welcome.
Yeah.
Any other people, council people want to speak under
We have one card on 14A, sir.
14A?
Yes, sir. That's the mayor and council's report.
Call the card, please.
Stan Johnston.
Stan Johnston. I wanted to say that I support the good works that Mr. Diesel has done, and he's done a fine job. I could also mention a number of other things about what you talked about, but I want you to understand something that's going on here is that if I want to say something about the mayor's report, it's a difficult situation because I don't know what's going to be said. I have to present a card. Now, for example, let me give an example, and maybe I'm not allowed to speak it sometimes. For example, is that recently you had a council meeting, and like during the mayor's report, there was a 27-minute period, and when it was spoken on about bankruptcy of the city, the OPEB.
Yes, sir.
Would you stop that, please? Stop the clock.
Stop the clock, please. Stop pointing at her. You asked
well,
me.
Okay, ask you. I'm sorry. It just keeps on going. Okay.
Thank you. I would say that there are 3 points of order at this point. One is that the comments are related to procedure, not the report itself. So procedural comments or questions or requests or petitions should be handled as such. They're inappropriate for this unless it's directly related to the report that's presented. Second, and out of respect for the mayor and the conduct of the meeting that you would hold, my hope would be that comments related to how you choose to run the meeting. Sir, you have the authority to let clocks run, not clock run, or whatnot, but my hope would be that the decorum of this would be that an individual they can petition you, but they don't tell our person what to do. You run the meeting as such. And third, if that is the case, and each one of those disruptions.
Let me assure you that is the case.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly believe that. And third would be that any disruptions talking about telling staff what to do while a council member has business to conduct on here is a disruption of the meeting further. So, all points of order. Thank you.
Okay. May I respond to what Mr. Behringer said?
He didn't ask you a question, sir.
Okay.
Put the light back on, please.
Okay. I think in terms of truth and justice and fairness, I think I should be allowed to respond to it, but I won't, because you said I'm not allowed to respond to what Mr. Behringer said, because I disagree with him so much, and he said some things that are incorrect. But so I need to concentrate on what was spoken here, and of course I put a card in because I didn't know what you were going to say. So I do have that right to put a card in.
But you knew you wanted to talk.
Not necessarily, sir. I didn't know what you were going to say. In other words, I explained, for example, a 27-minute period that I would have loved to have been participating in, but I didn't know it was going to happen.
That's enough.
So, pardon?
That's enough. I understand.
Okay, so I want to also compliment Mrs. Nelson for what she's doing in the community. That's in your, it wasn't in your.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
It's irrelevant to the card submitted for the comments on the mayor's report.
I'm going to give him this one because she didn't make that report under this report where she's talking.
Thank you, sir.
All right, then I should add is that the clock kept running while it took my time up when I was asking for
About 10 seconds after the meeting.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, and so I believe that, I could say, like Mr. Behringer was wrong because I was talking about that period of time, which was during the mayor's report, in which Mrs. Nelson spoke. So I believe that is proper to allow me to speak on that, whereas you said, no, it's not allowed. So we have a problem here, is that, and what I see is fairness and justice and communication. And I don't want to bring that up at the mayor's report, but that's what just now happened. Just now happened. I was to say, do not respond to Mr. Behringer. Oh, okay. So I'm just going to close as I think that Mrs. Nelson did a fine job. She's working well in the community for the young girls, and it's I know she's breaking her back just helping these kids out. So is Mr. Diesel. He's a fine guy. Thank you very much. So, but there's been times the mayor's report did include a whole bunch of talk about me. And see, you understand, that's why I think I have a right to file a card, okay? Even though it's not in that written report. It's not in there about me. In other words, when I look at the agenda, it's not there. But you can spend 27 minutes on OPEB and bankruptcy. So thank you very much, and that's what's happened before. Thank you,
sir. Anything else from council? City managers?
No, sir, we got one more, 14B, and this is a request for recognition of Friends of the Cemetery. Councilmember Diesel has requested that several individuals which are Friends of the Cemetery be recognized at the City Council meeting on 22 May 2018 at our 5:30 special presentations meeting. Their efforts for helping to restore the Day Street Veterans Cemetery has been commendable.
Yes, sir.
Tell you anything new. But as you know, Sam de Blasio has been a tremendous, an unbelievable movement down there. And I'm not even sure how it hit his heart like that, but what he's done has been amazing. And he has requested that I believe he had 4 workers that have been with him along the way. So I simply inputted that they didn't want to come until May when the project is done. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, I'm sure it'll be a nice moment. And Mayor, I know you'll be close to that.
You're right. They've done a great job, and they do deserve recognition. Would we do that at under the presentation?
We'll do it at a presentation and workshop. What we need, though, is the council's approval of Councilmember Diesel's request.
Do I have a motion on that?
I'd move to approve that request.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. I have a member Diesel. No, that's you already. Anything else, member Diesel?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which one? Again? Twice. Don't feel bad. City manager?
Yes, sir. I have 2 action items for council and a couple information items. Each year, City Council has implemented a summer recess by canceling the second council meeting in June. If you desire to continue this recess, it's staff's recommendation that you cancel the regular meeting scheduled for June 26th. This provides council a summer recess from June 13th to July 9th. Request council act on the approval of your summer recess.
Council, any?
Okay.
Boy.
Can we make that motion? How many seconds can I get?
Was that a motion you made?
Yes, sir.
Following the city council's recess. I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Unanimously. This is something you and I know that we do this every year. This is not unusual at all.
Yes, sir. Second item is requesting council's approval of the 2019 budget workshop and hearing dates. Our current timeline, there are other meetings that have to occur prior to our meetings, so we've done coordination with the county and the school board. We're requesting that our first budget workshop be held on 15 August, followed by the 2 public hearings on 4 September and 13 September. All will be at 5:30 p.m.
What was the last one?
The last one is 13 September. That'll be the final public hearing.
Anybody know of any problems with that? Yes, no? Okay. We need a motion on that, please.
I'd move to approve the proposed schedule for the 2019 budget cycle.
Any I need a second, I'm sorry.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Passes unanimously.
I have one information item and also one date. CBG, during one of our meetings at the Harry T. Moore Center, there was a request to reveal where the CBDG funds have been spent over the past 5 years. That's in your packet. The second is on 2 May 2018 at 6 p.m. in Titusville Performing Arts Center. Council will participate in the Student Awards Ceremony, and you recall that from last year. I just want to make sure you have that date.
Say that date again, please. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. It's 2 May 2018 at 6 p.m.
Thank you, sir.
And it's, I think, recognition of our young folks is well in order. Last, before the card for my item, we put together a Restoring Our Lagoon, and this is on our city website. And we're really proud of all the projects that the city has undertaken and the effects of hopefully restoring our lagoon. So if you would, try to get the word out on all these projects. Again, I think the city of Titusville has gone way beyond what some of our neighbors are doing to help the health of our lagoon. So we'll put hard copies in your box as well for distribution. We're thinking about adding some more stuff in the Titusville talking points on this because it's such an important issue, and it's one of council's top priorities. And I think you'll see the resources that are dedicated to restoring our lagoon. And subject,
1 second.
yes, sir.
I'd like to comment on that. I already spoke to you about this, but I'm very proud of it actually. That pamphlet, I had that pamphlet, and I went to a TDC meeting, and Laura Lee Thompson was there, and everybody noticed Laura Lee and how devoted she is to getting the river cleaned up and the environment in general. I can only say she was very, very happy and proud. She came back to me and said, "I'm just proud to know that Titusville has done so much in the way of trying to help the lagoon." I don't think I really understood. I knew we've been doing things, but I never had it all in one place before. And I mean, if you have anybody who has any interest in the environment or in the lagoon, take them a copy of that because I think they'll be proud of us.
Yes, sir. And last, before the card, I'd just like to publicly thank the Titusville Police Department for their efforts. They've been overwhelmed this past couple weeks, and the emotional impacts of having hoax bomb threats and the impact of their normal routine day for a Titusville police officer. Very proud of all of their efforts day in and day out. Can't be more prouder of the leadership that leads that organization day in and day out. So to the public, if you see an officer, please thank him for he or she for their commitment to the city and their profession. I think that sometimes recognition is overlooked, and these are truly the heroes of our city, and I think they should be commended whenever you speak with them.
Hear, hear. Thank you, Chief, for all you do, and everybody in the TPD. Please pass it on to them from all of us.
So that completes my report. We have a card on the city manager's report.
All right, clerk, would you call
Stan
the card?
Johnston.
Stan Johnston, City of Titusville. I'm here, and I filled out a card in a similar way that I had signed out a card for the mayor's report. In fact, I even filled out a card for the city attorney's report because maybe he's going to say something even though he's not on something's in the agenda packet. So I did fill out a card for the city manager's report, and the main reason I did it because I don't know what's going to be said or what might come up. And so that's the main reason. I think I don't need to go into any further, but I had a lot of interaction this week with the chief of police and city attorney and the mayor. So thank you very much. Okay.
Anything else, sir?
I don't believe the city attorney has any additional information.
He does not? All right, anything else for the good of the order? If not, I declare this meeting adjourned.